Meet Jane Doe, the 7th episode of Dollhouse Season 2, is a confusing episode fast-forwarding the Dollhouse timeline. At this point, Joss and the gang knew that they couldn't get a Season 3, so they started jam-packing Season 2 with all their ideas, and the result is a very confusing, busy episode that fast-forwards 3 months in the middle. When the show opens, I think it's about a week later. Adelle and Topher have just gone back to work, Echo's still on the run, and Ballard's yet to report in. Topher mopes over his breakup with Bennett. Ivy tries to snap him out of it by having him open up to her, but Topher doesn't want to reveal the confidential information. She asks him to trust her with the confidential information, and Topher says,
"I will never trust another woman as long as I live."
This is often tossed around as evidence that Dollhouse is not a feminist show. Yes, this is a main character in a Joss Whedon show saying something sexist, but it's Topher. He's a flawed character, he's been acknowledged to be a flawed character, and he's doing something flawed that is not something that the show endorses. And then 2 seconds later, he changes his mind and opens up to her. So it's just a joke about him being inconsistent. Meanwhile, Echo's wandering through Texas, digging through the trash for food. She finds her way to a grocery store, but can't remember enough about the capitalistic system to actually get food. She sees an immigrant woman being discriminated against by the cashier, and Echo decides to be nice and give the woman food, not understanding that she can't just take food. Police grab them, and Echo tells the woman to run while she turns on her martial arts skills, and she gets away, but the woman gets caught and arrested. We then skip to 3 months later, where Adelle is losing control of the dollhouse to her boss Harding. She is now being forced to revoke her policy of actives not being imprinted to be submissives.
Sadomasochism isn't anything like...
I know. It's all about trust. But what if the client has the whip?
We don't send the actives to be submissives.
Man, you got the pitch down. You should fill in for DeWitt.
The latest client is this sadistic guy who happily quotes the Marquise de Sade as if he were a respected philosopher. Adelle seems disgusted by him.
This client seems to quite enjoy pain, or should I say, derives pleasure from inflicting it.
Wow! I mean, obvious evil! Come on! Rossum is evil! I'll make a BDSM-focused video later, but I'll just point out that the male sadists are all evil through and through, no redemptive qualities, while the women are all complex. I think Joss Whedon is holding a popular prejudice that women can't be submissives and men can't be dominants. That this would be some kind of sexism. That's not true. It's about consensual sexual fulfillment and not recreating problematic power structures. Come on. The use of Mr. Sadist McPsychopath is sexist, even as it is another nod to Rossum being evil.
I told you Rossum was evil.
Mr. Sadist McPsychopath also pervs on Adelle with Harding, indicating that the larger Rossum Corporation is a boys' club, and Adelle has to work harder than the men to succeed in it, similar to Lila and Angel.
Look, I've been doing this a long damn time. I've had to be better, smarter, quicker than every man at Wolfram and Hart.
So it's a feminist thing. It's on her.
It's a survival thing.
Even though these kinds of organizations are evil, depicting women struggling against patriarchal structures is still a feminist story. Harding's got Topher cooking up all sorts of new technology, some of which seems inspired by Bennett, and Topher imprints Sierra and Victor as scientists to help out. So it's not just that he is the random genius guy. I would say it has more to do with him being easy to control. Bennett doesn't seem the most controllable of geniuses. All of the new tech is about making the Rossum Corporation able to enslave people more effectively than ever, and all the tech goes into portraying the Rossum Corporation as creepy. Topher et al. Invent a remote wiping device, which stops 99% of active rebellion capabilities. By the time Adelle is introduced to the very orthodox Muslim-looking owners of the Dubai dollhouse, sure to victimize women like never before, the Rossum Corporation is approaching the human traffickers in the pet in terms of obvious evilness.
I don't want to spoil this wonderful evening with talk of business. But I do want to thank you all. It's been a banner year for human trafficking, and I really appreciate all of your help. Thank you.
If they were allowed to speak.
Got that right.
Harding wants to split up Sierra and Victor, the cutest couple of all time, which is akin to the villain in Who Framed Roger Rabbit killing the anthropomorphic shoe.
The girl would be perfect for Dubai.
I told you Rossum was evil.
And then Topher shows Adelle what Rossum is ultimately working on, a device that can imprint anyone, regardless to if they've got active architecture or not. They could just walk up to a random person on the street and enslave them.
I told you Rossum was evil.
In order to take control of her house, Adelle goes to Harding with the plans for the slavery device. In exchange, Harding grants her request and returns her power. The once apathetic Topher is now terrified by his boss's actions. Meanwhile, in the B-plot, Echo is much more together and has a job as a nurse in a Texas hospital. She manipulates her way to being sent to the jail to treat the immigrant woman, who is being abused by the xenophobic cops there. Able to speak perfect Spanish, in theory, she tells her to take a certain pill at a certain time the next day. This will make her collapse into a coma so Echo can get her out. Echo then goes to an apartment where she meets her roommate Ballard. She mentions suffering from migraines whenever she summons an imprint, which, along with Topher's new tech, is a sign of the apocalypse. During their dinner under intimate candle lighting, she tries to get him to have sex with her. This is the culmination of the building attraction he's had for her throughout the show. She finally wants a romantic relationship with him, and he turns her down. This is rather extraordinary, depicting a man being mature and not having sex with a woman who was a sex slave for years. Most fantasies, for instance, James Bond fantasies, would depict the man wanting sex even in spite of her issues, or even to cure her issues. But Dollhouse takes a more mature, responsible route in depicting feminist masculinity.
I think I don't have the right.
I do have an issue with how this responsibility is treated in the next episode, but I'll get to that later. The two of them spar, which is depicted in a rather sexualized manner to show their sexual tension, but unlike the alpha and whiskey torture scene, the sexualized violence is mutual and non-harmful. Yes, it's violence, but it's not done with intent to harm and is played like a sexy dance. They plan a rescue mission of the immigrant woman. This will be a test run for Echo. If she can get the immigrant woman out of the jail, she probably can get the actives out of the dollhouse. Of course, the actual rescue attempt doesn't go according to plan. The drug wears off too soon, Echo's migraines kick her out of the Spanish-speaking mode, and she barely gets the woman out of there. During the escape process, she beats up a bunch of men, but none of the feminists who screamed about Topher punching out the sadistic torturer trying to kill Echo seem to care about this display of violence. Oh my god, a woman just punched a man in the face. This must mean Joss Whedon hates men and designed the whole show around it. Ballard scares off the dirty cops, and he and Echo set up the immigrant woman with a new identity.
¿Por qué hiciste todo esto? Porque mereces estar libre.
Echo and Ballard kiss.
Just once, just here, while it's still just the two of us.
Is there? Really? Just the two of us?
I guess not.
Echo deems she's ready to return to the dollhouse and launch her rescue of the actives. Ballard brings her in as her handler, and her arrival makes her look like Jesus to the actives. She is the savior, there to lead them to liberation. Ballard tries to have her wiped to deal with the migraines better, but Adelle wants to keep her in a room and experiment on her. It's worth noting that Adelle's new sinister mode of dress is masculine. Similar to the issue with Dark Willow and Buffy, Joss characterizes Butch Woman negatively. Adelle's rather intimate addressing of Echo then makes her come off as an evil lesbian.
It's good to have you back, love.
It's problematic for its negative implications for both queer women and men in general. In conclusion, Rossum is evil. I mean, it's obviously evil. How anyone could watch the show without realizing it's evil is beyond me. I mean, I know some people watch the show without realizing Rossum is evil, but I know some people must masturbate to the Teletubbies. It doesn't mean it was intended by the creators, you know? You can't account for weird people. The LA Dollhouse staff is morally gray, but definitely associated with the bad guys. Meanwhile, Echo, Ballard, and Boyd seem to be planning a revolution from within the dollhouse. It's like a Nazi movie portraying a grim situation without endorsing it. How hard is it to understand that Rossum is evil, that it's supposed to be evil? Everyone recognizes that it's evil. Come on!
I told you Rossum was evil.